Happy Saturday to you guys. Another collab in the books. What is up, Finn fans? Told you guys I've been doing this series now for, it's been, 1 week? We have 2 more weeks until training camp starts. The official first day of training camp, well, to the public anyway, is on the 28th, but the vets will arrive to training camp on the 23rd. So I have 2 more weeks. I'm going to stop doing the collabs the week of the 19th. 19th will probably be the last collab, 19th or 20th. So this week we had Richmond Webb, we had Alf, and now today we have Tobin. Next week I'm going to have Reason from Finside's the NFL. I'm also going to have Jason Sarney, and I'm working on another promising, fun collab. And then the final week, you guys let me know. I'm trying to get Ace per head, I think is his name. I'm trying to get him on. I'm trying to get some others. I might get Omar Kelly back. Comment below. Let me know who you would like to see collab and come on the channel before training camp starts. But other than that, let's listen and hang out with Tobin and talk Miami Dolphins, Tua, and even talk Florida Panthers championship game. But other than that, I'll see you guys Monday. But like usual, stay classy. FN's up. You know, if I got guys on, I got to get my guy Tobin on here. How you doing, bud?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I definitely, we got training camp coming up. I have to pick your brain about some things. But first, we got to talk about the NHL championship. The Florida Panthers finally doing it. How scared were you going into Game 7?
Oh, I was terrified. I'm not going to lie, man. And it wasn't even so much about losing the 3 in a row. It was just how unrecognizable the Cats looked to that point. And it was just so uncharacteristic. So it was tough not to feel like was the moment getting to them. Hockey's a little bit weirder than the other sports. But as soon as they scored that first goal in 7, I was like, all right, they look completely back to themselves. And I felt pretty good about it. I thought Bob had a great performance. They were deserving of it. They were great all year. Barely had adversity in the playoffs, and you just got to give it up to them. They built a system and a way. They were a very fun team and changed some things, but to see all the stories come through with that win, from Paul Maurice to Sergei Bobrovsky to Barkov. It was really, really cool, and it was fun to see South Florida celebrate something for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah, and the rain didn't stop you guys from being at that parade.
It was crazy. I really legitimately we were broadcasting as the flagship. We were broadcasting from Bo's Beach, Kim Bocamper's place, and we could see not only the stage, but we had the perfect view of the ocean, and the amount of lightning that was crashing over the stage. I was like, how is anybody staying out of this? So dangerous. I really feel like any other event, they're making people evacuate, but it was too chaotic. They're just like, all right, whoever wants to risk it, and people stayed out there.
And it's just so funny, and especially the stuff that they were doing with the trophy and everything. It's such a Florida thing, eating the pasta out of it, jumping in the ocean. It was just perfect, and first championship, hopefully first of many, and then hopefully transition. The Dolphins can finally do one in my lifetime. So.
Yeah, man. Look, it definitely, I feel like, and I was talking about this because I did the show with Joe Rose. We did the parade. It was inevitable to come up over our 4 hours of talk. Like, you see what this is like. What do you think this is going to be like when the Dolphins are able to do it again? And I think it's going to be incredible. I really do. I mean, this is a fan base that's certainly thirsting for it. I think they deserve it. I think they've been through hell. I think that they've been through so much controversy and heartbreak over the last few years, including. So it was tough not even just put yourself in imagination land with Joe and think about what that's going to be like. And hopefully, hopefully this is something that's, going to come sooner rather than later.
Yeah. If and when the Dolphins win a Super Bowl, I think that parade is going to be ridiculous. Like, I'm up in Jersey and I'm heading down there for that parade. Like, it's going to be absolutely nuts. Talking about the Dolphins now, Tua Tagovailoa contract situation. I think he's going to sign before training camp. I definitely think he'll sign before the season starts. Do you have any reservations that he might not sign, or when do you think the contract gets done?
I definitely am feeling like a little bit apprehensive about it happening. Darlington coming out with the statement that he did on NFL Live a couple of weeks ago definitely gave me some pause, because he's obviously been plugged in with the organization for a very long time, knows a lot of the parties that are involved. And man, like, the only thing that worries me is I don't remember the Dolphins getting into a lot of these public disagreements negotiating wise recently and feeling like they haven't already had their mind made up. Tua, who's usually like as buttoned up as it comes with his comments, was very, I don't know if the word is hurt, but definitely, was publicly disappointed at minicamp and wanted to get some things out there to get some people on his side. So it definitely gave me some feelings like, hey, this might not happen. I thought it was, a slam dunk that it was going to happen just based on the relationship between him and the head coach. But I do think that we've seen whether, be the Wilkins or the Gesicki thing, like, once they make up their mind on something on a negotiation, it's kind of hard to move them off it with no new football happening. So I don't know what else Tua can really do other than, if they are at their sticking point, then go play out the season and see where it goes. So, I won't be surprised really one way or the other, but I definitely have been I was more in the camp of, I thought for sure it was going to happen. And then hearing minicamp, hearing the reports thereafter, hearing that they're not going to go in the Trevor Lawrence realm for him, some things gave me like a little bit of angst that it might not happen. I don't know what the consequences of that are. I don't know if Tua's I don't see him as a guy who's gonna hold out, especially on this head coach.
Yeah.
But I certainly I've definitely been, I guess the word Tua used, antsy. I've definitely been more antsy with the way that it has been playing out over the last few weeks.
Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head, especially when it came to Christian Wilkins, because from what my understanding, they gave him like, hey, we'll pay you like 20 million. And he was like, well, come up. And they were like, we're going to stay with 20 million. And then he bet on himself and he won. And he got 28. And the Dolphins were like, even Robert Hunt, they supposedly tried to get him in the middle of the season. And he was like, I'm just going to see how this plays out. And again, 20 million. So hopefully it's not one of those situations with Tua. It seems like we have a little bit more control because we have that franchise tag, but it's scary because he might ball out. That's best case scenario. We go to the AFC Championship or something, he balls out.
Yeah.
Then they have to pay him another 15 million versus getting it done now and possibly saving money. But
yeah, and I'm a big Tua guy. Like, I really find him to be likable, root for him. Have been happy to see that he had a coach who believed in him. But I guess if you are a skeptic of him, that is kind of like the worst case scenario. And I really don't have a great argument. Like, my producer is very much like, well, what's the harm in them not, of making him prove it? Because he's not gonna. Because I don't truly believe he would hold out on Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, no.
So then it's like, well, what is the real harm? And I don't really have a good answer for that, other than I guess the quarterback money is getting crazier, and so why not get your break here? But for everybody who has their questions about him, yeah, I think you could look around the league, and if it's not 15 in Kansas City, every other quarterback has their
100%.
Their little crux that you could look at and say, that's why he shouldn't get this amount of money. The quarterbacks are expensive. It is what it is right now. But I don't have this feeling like he's going to fall off a cliff. I feel like the guy has shown that he is good enough. But I just have this feeling with the Dolphins, like they make their, Chris Greer and the parties would be, they make their presentation, they make their contract offer, and I don't feel like there's no football happening, I don't feel like they're going to budge off of it very much.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I always talk about the fact that there's only one elite quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Because to be elite, you have to overtake some of the shortcomings, and he had a ton of shortcomings last season, and he won the Super Bowl. Whereas you see like Josh Allen, he doesn't win the next game because his receivers are dropping the ball. You don't hear that with Mahomes, and there's all those little ifs and buts. And like you said, there's only one guy and he might want a new contract soon because people are getting paid more yearly by him. Same thing with Josh Allen. And then the cap goes up, next year, and that's all stuff that Tua's agent's going to be writing down, and it's just going to get more expensive if they don't try to get it done now.
Yeah, the Mahomes thing has become almost annoying because the thing with Mahomes is like the first, few years of his career and this run that he was on, like he was the most fun quarterback you've ever seen in your life too. And then like the fact that they won it like dink and dunk like the Patriots last year made it more infuriating because now it's like, well, now we're good, but now it's like boring too. So it's this unfortunate thing. Like there's a giant to slay in this league, and everybody has to know, hey, do we have the guys to do it? And quite frankly, like, look, they're just a good all around team. I mean, they definitely schooled the Dolphins last year in that frigid game, but hell, their defense was just as impressive with what they were able to do, putting hands on the Dolphins. Chris Jones is an absolute monster. So, it isn't just a quarterback thing, but it's understandable why that gets all the attention. It is what it is.
Yeah. Looking at the team as a whole, I did a video recently, and there's a ton of articles. I think Omar did an article of the same stature that we kind of look at who we lost and who we brought in and kind of tried to decipher, did we get better? What's your take on that? Like with the free agents we lost and the free agents we brought in and even the draft picks and stuff like that, do you think this team got better from last year?
I definitely think it can be better because I think it's interesting hearing how happy the guys in the secondary are, that their versatility is going to get used more to their comfort. I think it's hard, obviously, to replace Christian, but I don't think it's undoable. I think that I loved adding Calais Campbell just from a goosey standpoint, and just he's been an anchor of some really, really good defenses, and I think that. You listen to Anthony Weaver, and he just feels like he's got the right, tone and touch of what he's going to do with these guys, rotating them in and out. So I think that they, kind of took a gamble on, we think we can patchwork that together, and probably knew that maybe playing Sealer and Christian Wilkins the way that they were and the amount that they were wasn't sustainable anyway. So, yeah, I think that the defense is got – it's going to be tough to judge anyway because of the injuries to your pass rushers and seeing where guys in. But I think the potential's there. The offense, I really think the offense unquestionably got better. I think like that to me should be a no brainer that it got better with adding Jonnu Smith and adding the depth at running back and adding Odell Beckham Jr. I guess the big question is always, as it always is, coming back to him is the line, because it's like, how many games can you gamble on Teron Armstead being there? Is the new center going to work out in a place where, losing Connor Williams is going to be okay, and then, figuring out where they're going to plug in with the guard spots. But I think that I trust their eye with this whole offensive line thing. I trust the way that they go through it. So I think there's definitely a case to be made that they could be better this year.
Yeah, and I was talking to Richmond Webb about that and how Butch Berry, he just the things he did with the offensive line last year and how he was able to take some of these guys like Kendall Lamb, like Smith, Keon Smith, and all these guys and plug them in, and they actually weren't too bad. Like they, to me, at some points weren't the reason we lost some of these games. Was good, and I hope they pay him so Butch Berry never leaves us. And in actuality, when we signed him, Bronco players and Bronco fans were laughing at us. Oh, Butch Berry is horrible. And now we're looking at Butch Berry like he's one of the best offensive line coaches.
Oh, dude, I was in the same realm though. Like I always, that's going to be the thing that I always look at when it comes to like, oh, I don't know much about this guy, the offensive, but like Butch Berry, I saw him like, oh yeah, he coached the Canes, and the Canes offensive line for like a decade has been awful. So I'm like, anybody who's had a hand in that, I was very worried about. I saw all the Broncos reports that you did. So yeah, I thought the guy was going to be a disaster too. And the fact that it's like Mike McDaniel throwing up a Hail Mary of a new coach to bring in. But, I think it's, he's kind of vibed with the coaching staff in the right kind of way. And sometimes you just kind of need that right spot for him. So that definitely was a surprise to me. But, getting back to the Panthers, that was a big knock on Paul Maurice too. People thought that he was, like lifelong loser coming in here, wasn't going to be able to do it. So, sometimes the right stops, the right guys in there, you can get things to click the right way.
Yeah, sometimes even with the players, you just need to change. You need to change the scenery, and it just works. And especially with the coaching staff. You see what Mike McDaniel's doing now, because we brought in Fangio last year, and it seemed like that move was kind of we need the best that's out there. We'll overpay for the best. And now it seems like Mike McDaniel's like, I'm going to bring in my guys, and I'm going to bring in guys that have the same mentality as me. And you talked about Anthony Weaver, how he started bringing in his guys, like Calais Campbell, one of his guys, the defense before Fangio, blitzing defense, that's kind of in his realm. How long do you think it'll take for this defense to click? Do you think it'll be quicker than that 4-game that normally cushion that is given, or what's your thought process on that?
Yeah, it's a great question, because it even felt like, it did feel like it took a little bit for Fangs to get things to click together. And I guess the big wild card on this is going to be, because we don't know really when JP and Chubb are going to be good to go. And I don't know how much they're going to be able to rely on Chop Robinson and Mo Kamara and the rookies in this thing. So you're hopeful that Shaq Barrett can kind of just come in and help you out right away. But I do like the thing that I've loved is it feels very much like you heard the comments from Javon Holland. I mean, it's like, oh, he's a good human. Like, I just feel like that respect seems to be there right away. And I think one of the things that Mike McDaniel probably wanted that was frustrating for him is, this is a guy who definitely has the ear of his stars, but he didn't have any control of the defense last year. So even a guy like Jalen Ramsey, he's like, my hands are kind of tied here. Now it seems like there's just this through line in the coaching staff where that communication can be there at all levels. And that feels like it should translate to guys coming together quicker.
Yeah. And, it's like you said, the communication, because it seems like McDaniel had the offense, Fangio had the defense. There was no crossing lines there, because it's like, it's Fangio. What are you going to say to Vic Fangio, who's been doing this forever and has all that pedigree? Looking at this 2024 season, I never ask for record predictions, because it's just way too soon. We're not even in training camp. But what's your thoughts on the season? Like, which trajectory can you see it going? Do you think is it possible to win the division? Like, what's your thoughts on this season?
Yeah, look, it's the biggest question right now is, how are they going to topple Buffalo? Because that to me was almost more disappointing than the playoff loss last year, was the fact that I really felt like they had gotten some ground in the first McDaniel year with the Bills, in that every game was close, very, very competitive. They were right there. And then to take the step back that they did last season against them was just really disappointing. And so those are going to be huge matchups. It's almost cruel how the schedule works out, in that, like, here you go. Once again, you guys are going to be set up possibly for a January swoon. But in a way, it's like, it's almost the test they need.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be, if you got, because we're going to hear it nonstop. It's obviously something that's gotten to him, like, to the point where, McDaniel's doing the meeting times for 24 after the hour. So good. I mean, like, glad that he understands the the weight of the situation. But it's almost, to me, we're gonna have to see them, and I don't know if anyone's gonna believe in them until we get to week 11, 12.
Yeah,
for real. Now, I mean, en route, that stuff doesn't really matter, but it is going to be one of these things where I think there's going to be an unease from everybody until they either win a division or they finally end the curse. Like, they finally end the drought of playoff wins. And until that ends, I don't know, when the Dolphin fan is going to be at ease this year, because understandably, like, last year felt very, very, very different, and then it didn't. And then it felt all too familiar at the end of things.
Yeah. It always seems like it's something, the year before, we were flying high. West Coast game kind of tripped us up, and then Tua gets hurt. This year, 3-game lead on the division, and then players just started falling. And, if it's not one thing, it's another. But hopefully they can pull it together. But thank you so much for coming on, man. I really do appreciate you. Got anything going on that you want to talk about?
No, man, just the same old, same old. I'm just got the radio show going on with my guy Leroy Horde. He's also very hurt that Christian Wilkins was his favorite, so he is hurt that Wilkins is gone. But we're excited about football getting going. It's a little bit of a Deadsville right now in sports radio time, which is, I think, when we have the most fun. But For all your listeners out there, you YouTubers out there, we're at Miami 560 WQAM, 10 to 2 a.m., 10 to 2 p.m. every single weekday. You guys can get in on the chat and have some fun. You can call in. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We like to have a lot of fun with the sports radio realm of things, but it's a great time. And then I got my YouTube channel, Tobin Show, which people can go subscribe, talk Dolphins, Heat, Panthers, a lot of fight interviews if you guys have any fight fans out there. And that's it, man. So I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Go subscribe, go support, and I will talk to you soon. We'll do this again.
Anytime you want, buddy. Let me know.